right, let's get started on our last section. We will answer questions on 11.4 in class, but this is 11.5, and 11.5 is called the Pythagorean Theorem. And we are going to look at right triangles. What is a right triangle? It is a triangle that has a right angle in it. Oh, I should really make that red, because most of the time you see that, it's going to be this box, and this box is going to be red in any of your textbooks. So I'm going to erase that green line. So a right angle means that I've got two lines that make up a right angle, and there are names for each of these parts of the triangle. So I've got leg A and leg B, and then the hypotenuse, which is the longest leg, is labeled leg C. So there are three legs in a triangle. There are three sides in a triangle, right? And so those sides are that. The longest leg is the hypotenuse. The other two lines are just called legs, okay? And they make up that right angle. All right, so what is the Pythagorean theorem? Well, it is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In other words, leg squared plus leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. And yeah, we're talking about squares. So if there was a square over here off of this triangle, it would be this square plus this square. The area of them would equal that one. And that's way more complex than we need to get into. So I want to determine if a triangle with sides 5, 12, and 13, can those be the length of the side of a triangle? Well, let's figure out how to do that. I'm going to take 13 is going to be my hypotenuse. Why is that? Well, that's the biggest number, silly. So 5 and 12 are my legs. So 5 would be this leg, 12 would be this leg, 13 would be my hypotenuse. So now how do I use Pythagorean's theorem? So again, Pythagorean's theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so I'm going to plug my numbers in, and since I have all three in this case, I'm going to see if my two sides are equal. If I was finding a side, that would be different. So here I've got 13 squared. And then over here, I have 5 squared plus 12 squared. Well, what is 5 squared? It's 25. And what is 12 squared? It's 144. Now, we're working going down, not across. Don't write 25 plus 44 don't write your answer over here. Write your answer underneath. Let's see, it's 169. Okay. Well, what about 13 squared? What is 13 squared? Oh, it's 169. Look at that. That checks. They're equal to each other. So, this is called a Pythagorean triple. You won't need to know that. Just some added information. Okay? It's called a Pythagorean triple. You will need this next year because the group of numbers satisfy or make the equation true. Makes the equation true. Okay? That's supposed to be an E. There we go. All right, great. So what if I have this triangle? Well, we'll talk about that in class. What if I have, oops, this triangle here? Nope, we're coming back to that in class. What if I have this triangle here? I want to verify if it's a right triangle. Well, again, I'm going to take a squared plus b squared, and it's going to be equal to c squared. So, what's my c? Remember, my c comes from the side that's opposite the right angle. So make sure that number is there. So that's 5 squared. All right, so now I'm going to check my a squared and b squared. So that's 3 squared plus 4 squared. And now I'm going to do my math. 9 plus 16 is 25. Fantastic. And 5 squared is 25. They are equal. This is a right triangle. Okay? Is a right triangle. Great. Okay, so the answer to that is yes. All right, what if I don't know one of my sides? So here, I don't know one of my legs. I know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Sorry, I'm not going to do the purple. Okay? So I can label this, it doesn't matter what I label this, A or B, but since this is B, I'm going to leave that B. So 7 squared plus B squared equals C squared. Oops, what is C? C is 15. Okay, so now I have to do my math. What's 7 squared? It's 49 plus B squared equals 225, because 15 squared is 225. I've got to subtract my 49 from both sides, because I just have to solve this. And I get b squared is equal to 176. Now what do I do? Well, I don't care what b squared is. I want to know what b is. So remember the other day when we were undoing the square root by squaring it? We're going to do the same thing, but opposite. I need to undo this square, so I am going to square root both sides. That's going to cancel my square. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. And I'm going to use my calculator for the rest of this problem. I'm going to enter the square root of 176, and that's going to give me, I don't want to use a regular equal sign, a squiggly equal sign of 13.3. Why do I want to use a squiggly equal sign? Because it's approximately 13.3. It's a decimal, so we don't want to say it's equal. Okay? All right, so what if we did, okay, we're going to skip number 5. And we'll talk about that in class. We're going to do number 6. So number 6, what don't we know? This is a leg, this is a leg, this is a hypotenuse. Why is that a hypotenuse? Draw your arrow out of your right angle. This is your hypotenuse. So I've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. What's my a? It's 8 squared plus b is 15 squared equals c squared. I don't know what my c is. Okay, that's my x. So let's do the math. 64 plus 225 equals c squared. Going down, 289 equals c squared. Okay, I've got to make sure that I square root both sides to get rid of my square. And I get c is equal to 17. And that's my answer. So this side length would be 17. And that is all. We'll see you in class. God bless.